Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Were there any underage girls at that party?
There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency.
Because I believe you just lied under oath.
Well, this hearing didn't go well for Donald Trump, did it? You see, Trump and his allies really have been hoping that the Epstein files saga was just a flash in the news cycle after they've constantly said that it's time to move on.
And that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years. So we're moving on from that.
Hard to move on from something that there's been zero accountability over.
We keep hearing our press secretary and our Department of Justice and other government officials saying they're moving on from this. I wish that we could. I met Epstein and Maxwell when I was 21 years old. I'm nearly 53 now. We cannot move on as survivors of this crime and as citizens of this nation without changing this narrative.
But at a recent Judiciary Committee hearing, Attorney General Pam Bondi, well, she may have done the exact opposite of damage control. And after intense questioning from California Representative Ted Lieu, it has many outlets asking the question, did Pam Bondi just lie under oath about the administration's handling of the Epstein documents and Donald Trump himself? Yeah, the issue that Trump wants to go away so desperately is getting louder and more prominent by the hour.
Was the president aware of Secretary Lutnick's ties to Epstein when he chose him to lead the Department of Commerce? Was he aware?
Chris Malin was a Border Patrol agent.
Okay, so I'm going to conclude that the president, in fact, did know about his ties because he was the next door neighbor.
Shame on you.
These are senior officials in the Trump administration. This is not a game, Secretary.
I'm Attorney General.
My apologies, I couldn't tell.
According to California lawmaker Ted Lieu, he highlighted during an intense back and forth with Pam Bondi a memo under Bondi's direction saying that the Justice Department had, quote, not uncovered evidence from Epstein files related to Donald Trump. Ted Lieu went on to present documentation that runs contrary to that very belief, stating that Bondi misled Congress about what was really in the files and how they were handled.
Former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaiming my time. I got your answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock.
Stop
the clock.
The legislation. This is
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center, because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you, here is a witness statement who called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell. So should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims. and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
Yeah, he didn't pull any punches, and it's not a small discrepancy either, right? Claiming that the Attorney General is potentially lying under oath is a strong claim to make. And her reaction, well, it speaks volumes. The same hearing showed Bondi repeatedly deflecting from questions. Before then, she thought it was appropriate to go into a rant about the stock market when we're talking about child sex trafficking here.
Have you apologized to President Trump? Have you apologized to President Trump? All of you. I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history. Donald Trump, the Dow right now is over. The Dow is over 50,000.
That's right. The Attorney General wanted instead to talk about 401ks and the NASDAQ, while victims of these horrific crimes sat behind her.
I provided the evidence today that shows that his statements were false under oath. Kash Patel's statements were false. They are in possession. They were in possession at the time, and they're still in possession of evidence that other men participated in the sex trafficking.
Attorney General Bondi didn't seem to directly answer that question. I mean, what do you make of what she did say?
She didn't answer anything. She came here just ready to talk about the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, which seems kind of crazy to me.
This is something that resonates with voters on both sides of the aisle, right? They hate the fact that Pam Bondi sits up there and discusses these alleged accomplishments while victims of these horrific crimes are literally saying they want accountability, and what they've been happening by the Trump administration doesn't get them any closer to that. She wants to turn eyes to the economy, which is doing terrible, immigration, which is doing worse, and anything else that Donald Trump seems to be failing on in an attempt to deflect from his failures regarding the Epstein files. And when the Attorney General is publicly sparring with lawmakers instead of, trying to find a through line and hold those accountable, it speaks volumes to the partisan nature of this administration as a whole.
You've turned the People's Department of Justice into Trump's instrument of revenge. Trump orders up prosecutions like pizza, and you deliver every time. He tells you to go after James Comey, Letitia James, Lisa Cook, and Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve Board, and members of Congress like Adam Schiff, Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, Chrissy Houlihan, Jason Crow, Chris DeLuzio, and Maggie Goodlander, to name a few, and you snap to it. You replace real prosecutors with counterfeit stooges who robotically do the president's bidding. Nothing in American history comes close to this complete corruption of the justice function and contamination of federal law enforcement. And the good news is many serious lawyers at DOJ, including some of your own original appointees, have refused your lawless orders. Danielle Sassoon, your original pick for acting U.S. Attorney in Manhattan, resigned rather than follow your corrupt order to quash an indictment against Mayor Eric Adams as a political favor from Donald Trump. A Federalist Society member who clerked for Justice Scalia, U.S. Attorney Sassoon, refused to participate in this blatantly corrupt scheme. Her top assistant, Hagan Scotton, an Iraqi war vet and two-time Bronze Star recipient who clerked for Chief Justice Roberts, and then Judge Kavanaugh, promptly resigned too, writing to your office, quote, "I expect you will eventually find someone who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion, but it was never going to be me." You and the president nominated Eric Siebert, a 15-year career prosecutor, to be your U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. 5 months of investigating Letitia James and James Comey, he found no evidence to justify criminal charges. Yesterday, another grand jury shut down your vendetta factory by rejecting indictments against the 6 members of Congress who had spoken out to remind all service members that they have a duty to refuse illegal orders. Other judges found your statements to be, quote, inexplicably misleading, patently incredible, totally inconsistent, and so disingenuous that the court is left with little confidence that the government can be trusted to tell the truth about anything.
Let's be very transparent about what's happening here, right? This entire Epstein situation, despite what Trump and Bondi and Caroline Leavitt all want, it's going the exact opposite direction, because Congress isn't saying this is resolved, and nor are the American people. They are demanding more details and accountability. And the only people hell-bent on denying that are the ones in this administration. The chief defender is now the subject of scrutiny.
Well, we know he was on the plane, not only on the plane a couple times, multiple times. He traveled internationally with Jeffrey Epstein. And he was on the plane called the Lolita Express because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. He has been a friend of his, a continuing friend of his for years and years.
Instead of Bondi being there to shore up the wants from victims who are seeking justice, she instead just turned it into this relentless back and forth about Trump's alleged accomplishments. It was disgraceful and disgusting, while we're talking about heinous crimes here. And her handling of the files in the past run complete contrary to what they're stating now. Pam Bondi, we all remember, went on Fox News and claimed that she had everything on her desk needed. But now all of a sudden it's constantly stalling and deflecting instead of getting to the truth of what's going on here.
Please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through in the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi,
I'm going to finish my answer.
No.
Donald Trump wanted the Epstein files to be a news cycle bump. Instead, his attorney general may have just misled Congress about them to the point that they will never get away from the headline.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.